Hi, students. Good afternoon, good morning to you. Whenever you're listening to this recording, I thought of recording this session today because there's something that has come up. Um, so I will just be recording the session and making it available, and hopefully you all can follow it. So let me share my screen. Let's see if this works. Let me go to our topic for today. So this is emerging technologies. Lecture number 5, and we are still talking about Power BI from the Microsoft Learn portal, and we are trying to go through the different modules that are there in working with Power BI. So what are we going to cover? We will actually cover the module number 3 now, because we did module 1 and 2, and I hope that I hope you were able to do module 2. If you were not able to do module 2 completely, then please send me a message on WhatsApp or post it on the Google Classroom where you are stuck. And wherever you're stuck, I will try to help you and try to make sure that, hey, you are able to understand and move forward. It is very easy module, so I am not expecting any difficulties for most of the students, but if you are stuck, please let's have this discussion and send me a message. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about module number 3, which is around modeling the data in Power BI. And this is an important step because um, many times the data that you receive is actually not um, exactly the data that you will use for your reporting. You may want to combine multiple data sets. So let's say you got a data for sales from one location, you want to combine it with data from sales from other location, or you want to combine it with the data about expenses. So something you sold and some of your cost, you want to combine those two to actually see the end-to-end view of how much does this product cost and how much did we sold it for example. And so in many cases, your analytics requirement will not just be to use one data set, but to use multiple data sets. And when you want to use multiple data sets, that is when you need to do something which is called modeling your data, because you need to tell the data set how it links to each other. It will not on its own be able to link the two data sets. So this module is about connect Power BI to multiple data sources to create reports, define the relationship between your data sources, meaning how does the data on sales connect with the data on costs, for example. Yeah, so that's something we will learn in this module. And so what this module covers is create relationships between your data sources, create new field with calculated columns, optimize data by hiding fields and sorting visualization, create a measure to perform calculations on your data, use a calculated table to create relationship between two tables, format time-based data. So time-based data is one of the most common data sets that we have. So let's say any sales data, I'm just making it up now, or any let's say in IT, you will many times see that there is data around, all the bug fixes or all the tickets that have been raised around something to be fixed in the IT system. And most of these tickets will actually have a time and a date stamp to it. So you can kind of see, okay, how many tickets were raised last month, how many tickets were raised this month, and is the trend going down or is the trend going up, etc., or not. So time-based data is like one of the most common data sets, and so it will tell you a little bit more about in this module. It will tell you a little bit more about how to basically play around with the month, year, date kind of setup, how to try to automate as much as possible for your drill down or for your trend analysis. The drill down means you're going further down into the data, so you can see, okay, this year we spend whatever $100 But what if you drill down? That actually means that you double click on it or you click on it and it says, okay, this year we spent $100, but in the last 12 months, here is the breakdown of how the $100 was made up. So we spent, let's say, $0 in January, but we spent $20 in February, then $2 in March, and then $5 in April, or whatever that is. So drill down means going a level further and further deeper into the data set. And so you can imagine year is broken down into 12 months, months are broken down into the dates, dates are broken down into, let's say, different transactions that took place on the day itself. So those kind of things. And so let me quickly go and show you how this looks like on the Microsoft Learn portal. So you can see model data in Power BI. You can see I completed it recently. And yeah, it covers these few things. It's very straightforward. I just did it, and it was, very easy. But let's start with this. So how to manage it. So one of the first units in it is introduction to modeling your data. And so you can see, so modeling the data can only be done in the Power BI desktop. That's maybe the first thing to note. The second thing is that, you modeling the data is nothing but trying to find out ways to connect data sources with each other. And you can do that. Look, this is what it does. So it says, hey, take this table, take that table, and when you bring together, you might have to create a new column, which is actually the link between the two, etc., etc. And so, and here's a good video or that kind of tells about, overview of modeling data and what does it involve. But the basic thing is you can create a relationship to create a logical connection between two data sources. So like I just said, your sales data and your cost data, you combine it together and then you get a view of end-to-end cost and sales revenue from a product. And so something like that, you will need to model it. And there's a whole field called data modeling. It's a whole kind of separate topic in its own, with its own discipline. And a lot of, let's say, if you want to become a data architect, for example, if you want to become a data architect, then this is what you will actually do. Data modeling is what you will actually do for a large part. You will try to connect the different data sources. You will say, okay, what is the relationship between the different data sources, etc., etc. Okay, let's have a look at the next module, how to manage your data relationships. Um, um, so, so, so exactly. So there are different ways of trying to connect the data sources, but you need to find. So in the Power BI desktop, this is the model view. You see over here, this is the model view. But you need to actually be able to find a mechanism or a logic to connect the two data sources. So in this case, you see products is like list of products is one data source, and sales transactions is another data source. And how does it connect with each other is by this, what we call the master data object of product ID. So product ID is something that is common in the list of products. It's also common in list of sales, and this becomes the point. This becomes the, let's say, the relationship, and you join it to each other. And you can do this in Power BI, and then it will sort of automatically connect these two sources, and now you have a mechanism to report out of this combined data source of these two sources separately. And so that's important. But there's another thing it shows here, which is that, hey, you see these 1 and 0, or 1 and a dot, and these are actually, you can say, signs that, or symbols that tell how these data objects are linked to each other. So it says, let me just see if I can read it correctly. So it says, um, each sales order can have only one product assigned to it. Each sales order can only have one product assigned to it, but each product can have many different sales item against it, for example, right? Because each product can be sold multiple times, but each selling transaction may only have one product. It may actually have multiple products, but you will then record the transaction as multiple transactions, basically. But that's the way to connect the relationship and manage the relationship. And this is what is important. It's called cardinality. Cardinality is like the type of relationship between the two data sources. So the most common one is many to one, meaning, one of this data source can be in many of those data sources, like we did with the product and sales. So one product can be in many sales order, for example, or one to one, which means one of this can only be in one of that, for example. And then, yeah, so those are the basic types. But this is just a very basic view of what we call cardinality, which is how the relationship is between the two data sources. It can be a lot more complicated, and it is a lot more complicated in many companies when they do the actual data modeling work. Okay, create calculated columns. Another way to connect the two data sources is to actually be able to create a third, to be able to create a column that actually combines data from multiple sources. So you could do that. That's another way of. So one reason for creating a calculated column is to establish a relationship between tables when no unique fields exist. So you don't have any automatic key to connect the two data sources, and then you may want to actually create a calculated column, which you then actually use as a mechanism to connect the two data sources. So the lack of relationship becomes obvious when you create simple table visual in Power BI Desktop and get the same value for all entries. Like you try to connect revenue to district, and it becomes like it's just giving the same revenue, which means there is no clear relationship. It's Power BI is not able to understand like what is the relationship, so it just gives the default value of revenue everywhere for all the districts. And so yeah, please try this out yourself. um, Optimized data model. Yeah, many times what happens is that you've got two data sources, and you're trying to combine them, but you don't need like all the fields that are there in both the data sources. So so that could be a thing that you use to basically, you can remove the fields that you don't need. That's all it actually means. So you try to optimize it. You hide fields, you sort of, sort fields in a proper manner, so that maybe it is already easy to read and easy to kind of link with each other, etc. So those are, I think, the big items. Okay, explore time-based data. So this is an important one. Maybe for a few minutes I can spend some time on this. So you can see the years. Quarter means a year has 4 quarters. Like quarter is like 3 months. And so year, quarters, months, and days, that's like the general time-based data. And then, because a lot of reports want to drill down in time, a lot of reports want to, show the total value, but then also be able to show, okay, for example, how much did we spend this year, but then also want to break down, like how much did we spend in each month? Oh, and how much did we spend in each month of the last year versus the month of this versus the months in this year, etc. So time-based data is like the most common one, and it's important to just play around and understand how you can format time-based data so that you can drill down for more details. The modeling tools in Power BI Desktop automatically generate fields that let you drill down through time periods. So there's already a lot of automated part. If the data is inputted correctly and tagged correctly with years, quarters, months, and days, then the Power BI already has a built-in, capability to let you drill down. So that comes in very, very useful. That's very, very useful, because you may need to use it many times, right? So yeah, that's another big item. Sorry, let me go back. Let me see what else is there. Okay, create measures. Yeah, I didn't cover this, but I think you should just quickly run through this. It's not very difficult. Create calculated tables. We just talked about that. Explore time-based data. We just talked about that as well. And there's a good video to learn more about it. And then there's check your knowledge. So it's actually very short module. There's not a lot to do in it. And I suggest everybody completes it as well. You will get a sense of like, okay, how to play around and how to actually model the data in Power BI. And again, for any questions, please post it in the Google forum, or send to me on WhatsApp that, hey, I've posted a question in Google in the Google Classroom. Or just, you could also WhatsApp me the question itself. But I want other students to also learn from those questions. So if you post it on Google Classroom, that's the best because I can answer it there and then it's for everybody to see and learn. Basically, that's it. It's a very short session today. I hope you are able to follow these modules, and maybe next week I can try to put a little bit of a quiz for the first three modules. So just some questions that I can select and ask in the class for you all to answer or something like that. I can try to do to make sure that you are progressing on these modules and you're able to understand what is going on, because there's no way for me to assess if you're understanding or not. A few students have posted a screenshot that they have completed the modules, which is great. So thanks for doing that. Please keep doing that. But then from a lot of you, I have not heard back. So I'm a little bit worried that are you able to all understand and follow this or not? It's very, very easy. It just requires you to basically just do it. Just put the time and just do it. So I hope you will do that. Okay, I think that is it for today. It was a very short session. I give you the time. Use the time that was made for the class today to actually be able to do the modules on the Microsoft Learn portal. So thanks so much, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye.